I'm on a mission to 1 million diverse speakers get paid to speak by 2030. But I'm so excited today to have Sharon in Barbados with us. I mean, goodness me, not only am I delighted to have her, but the weather, I'm sure, is more delightful than it is here. So Sharon, how are you?
Oh, I am great, Ekua. It is so nice to be here. The weather's great. Don't want you to be jealous, but the weather is great.
Okay. Well, that's what you get if you get on an ice island, but you know. We'll take that. But no, so Sharon, tell us about, what do you do and what do you speak about?
Right. I am an educator, author, and activist. I speak about anti-racism and introversion. Anti-racism and introversion, not necessarily at the same time. Most of my work, I'm a former journalist, and in 2020, I started speaking out more about anti-racism. I founded an anti-racism newsletter. I published a collection of essays called I'm Tired of Racism in 2022. And I founded an anti-racism community, a polycultural anti-racism community in 2024. So that's one side of what I do. But what many people don't know or don't believe about me is that I'm actually an introvert. So part of my mission is also to support my fellow introverts to get out there and share their voice in a way that makes sense for them, just as I have done through my newsletter and book. And now through appearing on lives.
Yay! Amazing. So Sharon, what kind of talks do you give? Is it keynotes? Is it panels? Is it workshops? What are your main kinds of talks that you like to give?
I actually really enjoy being on panels because I love the give and take of them, but I have done all sorts. I have given keynotes at DEI conferences. I have delivered workshops on allyship and related topics for organizations. So I've done the lot because my background is as an educator. I'm comfortable in a number of different spaces.
Fantastic. And so you're saying that you primarily are focused on anti-racism and colorism and things of that nature. Can you tell us why, especially in this climate, that it's important that we talk about that? And what do you think is relevant for the conferences that you're seeing now? And if you're not seeing conferences, what do you think should be on those agendas?
Well, absolutely. I think it's more important than ever to talk about these topics. I talk about them because I think it's really crucial to have people hear from people who have experienced racism, who have experienced discrimination, and, to make it real for them and to really encourage people to walk in somebody else's shoes for a little while so that then they're motivated to do something about it. And I think it is more important than ever in a world climate in which, freedoms are being rolled back, where there's pushback against various equality initiatives, to say, hey, we're here, we matter, and we have something to say.
Absolutely. And so just picking up on this point of, being here, being in the room, being advocates and being more vocal, how do you broach that point about it being an uncomfortable subject to talk about, especially in a climate where people are scared to talk? I really love your thoughts and perspective on, how people can join the conversation in what I'm going to put, quote unquote, a safe way. Or is it even a safe way?
I think it's more... I don't think we can ever guarantee safety, but, it is possible for us to be brave about tackling things that cause discomfort and to sit with that and think, okay, well, why am I feeling uncomfortable? Is it because ideas that I had taken for granted and never questioned are now being questioned? Is it because there's something to learn here? And so I really encourage people to sit with discomfort and understand what that discomfort is telling them, I think it's really important for us all to do that. And, we all have areas where we could stand to learn a little more and do a little better. Okay. And this is a big one. And I think it matters to so many of us in the world.
Exactly. And I was wondering, because, it is, a uncomfortable subject. I'm not, let's just face it, it's not something that everyone's going to be wanting to be talking about every day. So do you think that there are particular phrases that are best used? Do you think that, we are supposed to use, like, what kind of language do you think is best in it when you want to approach this, and how can they approach it in a way where they are being collaborative and there's no like blame or shade? It's more about exploring. How can people, basically bring together a conversation to explore what's something that's uncomfortable around this topic?
I think it's really important for us to understand where people are coming from, to listen to where they're coming from, and to find those points of connection. That's what I do in my work, in my speaking, in my facilitation, in my community building. Find those points of connection and move from there. Have the bravery to realize that sometimes things are going to be uncomfortable, but they're worth talking about, and it's worth making that change. I have seen so many people that I've worked with over the years come to epiphany, suddenly realize that there's something that they had taken for granted that they could approach differently, and then change what they're doing, and then take that new realization out into their communities. So you have a ripple effect of change. And I think that's really important. And the blame and the shame and the guilt don't actually get us anywhere. But if we take responsibility for what we're doing, and then we're willing to accept that responsibility, we're willing to find out how we can change, and we get people like me in to say, hey, here's what I know about this subject. Because I don't just speak from the perspective of someone who has experienced racism. I actually, I have a master's in media and culture and another one in teaching and learning and higher education. So I also speak as a scholar of inequality and as an educator. And I bring all of those lenses together when I am creating experiences, whether it's keynotes, whether it's workshops, whether it's participating on a panel, in order to say, hey, here's how we can tackle this together. Here's how we can come together and learn more and do better.
And do you have a particular framework that can help people raise their consciousness or awareness? Or how is it that you lead them to be able to identify potentially where they have been blind to some of the things that they may have just been accepting? They may not have known better.
I lead with humanity, right? And empathy. That's where I start. And, I haven't put it together in a particular framework, but I know that it works through having done this work over several years now, that listening to understand, finding the point of connection, and then doing a quick reframe so that people can see another point of view is a very effective way to create change within people. And then those people take that change out. There's nothing that makes me happier than to hear, as I've heard so many times, oh, you made me think completely differently about this, and I'm telling everybody.
That is brilliant. And do you have a particular questions that help people to be able to think differently?
I actually would like to quote my friend, Linda Berberick, who says, who asked two very good questions that she shared within our community, which is, who told you that and why did you believe them, or why did you believe it? And so that can help people to unpack a whole lot of things. Right? I have asked, I remember in one of the sessions that I was leading, I asked people, because it was a mixed group, when did you discover your racial identity? It was a very interesting question. People who were Black and of the global majority discovered it quite young. People who were racialized as white discovered it quite late because it wasn't something they'd had to think about. But even just asking questions like that force people to think, oh, wait a minute, I'm part of this too. I have, those are powerful questions. And so I can't say that I have a standard set of questions that I use, because every group is different and every person you engage with is different.
Amazing. Just to say, we have Keiko. I do apologize if I mispronounced her name, but thank you for joining us and engaging. Keiko is saying she's agreeing with what you're saying, Sharon. She's also saying, I'm quoting you, saying, I lead with humanity and empathy, listening to understand, and then doing a quick reframe so people can see a different point of view. and she congratulates you on this viewpoint. So thank you for engagement, Keiko. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Keiko. Much appreciated.
Indeed. So Sharon, let's move into thinking about visibility and the recent challenge that you're on. First of all, why did you decide to join this challenge as someone who's already been posting and already been out there, who's got an award-winning book and community? Why did you join this challenge?
I joined this challenge because becoming a paid speaker has always been, no, not always. Within the last couple of years, I thought this was something that I wanted to achieve. And it's not that I had not been paid to speak before, because I have. And as you say, I've been out there.
Yeah,
but I wanted to learn from an expert, and I wanted to boot myself a little bit out of my comfort zone by trying something different. And this challenge, because it was starting at the start of the year, it seemed a good time to put a new focus on it and really commit to that as a goal.
And so, like, when you approached it, did you actually take time to prepare, or did you kind of, were you like just going straight from, okay, I see the prompts because the prompts were given to you, and you were just like, I know what to do, I'm just going to start, or did you take that time to prepare and that helped you, if that's your approach?
I actually prepared in advance. When I first signed up for the challenge at the end of the year, I went back through many of the events I'd spoken at, some of the podcasts I'd been involved with, and I pulled out topics that I covered regularly. Mm-hmm. And then I did some searching to find out, because I'd be like, I don't know what it's like for other people, but if you're out there and you're talking and you're writing all the time, sometimes you forget what you've said.
Yeah.
So I did a search. I searched to say, okay, well, what have I actually said about this before?
Yes.
This is something I still believe. How could I talk about this today? And I actually pulled out, I started with 5 topics and ended up with 7.
Wow.
And I did brief outlines. Mm-hmm. And then I went back in and I looked at the prompt questions and started preparing. So I answered all the prompt questions for all of the topics. So I still have some content I haven't posted.
And that's the great thing, though, because like you can repurpose what you did in the challenge. What worked, you can reuse and have different spins on it. And that's the great thing about when you spend 7 days like we did in this challenge, there's so much you can repurpose. Because it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's actually about being able to slice and dice. And that's the thing I want to remind people, that as much as we, can sometimes be tempted to think, oh, what do I post? If you spend time thinking about what are you passionate about talking about and how do you want to, what the goals that you're seeking, then you can, batch in some ways content ideas so that you can, dip in and out and have always something on the go. Because one of the things our coach mentor says is like, you're going to have days where you don't feel like posting, or feel like showing up, or feel like doing what you got to do in your business, but actually we still can't keep going. And on those days, you need to be able to go into your file and be like, I've already got something. I'm just going to whip that out and actually put that out. And so Sharon,
absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No. It's because one of my other hats was helping people create content and so on, and I talk a lot about repurposing. Right? Create once, use many times.
Yes.
Okay. So it dovetails quite nicely with what you've just said.
Yes. No, I agree. And so so tell us a bit more about, what did you find in particular about posting about paid speaking for a whole week? Like, were there any point do you feel icky, or do you feel confident, or like how were people responding when it was literally wall to wall paid speaking content?
I did wonder how people were going to respond, but it was interesting actually, because it brought out a part of me that doesn't come out very often, and I was a lot more direct. I mean, I think of myself generally as being direct, but I was even more direct in terms of speaking about these topics that matter so much to me, and then saying, oh, this is something that I speak about. The one that was the most challenging for me was the one where we had to speak about, why people should hire us. What are our creds, right? And that feels a little weird, as a woman, as as a Brit, bigging yourself up is not really necessarily something that you're socialized to do, right? But I was very happy when I had done it. I thought, actually, I'm happy. It's finished. When I put it all together, I thought, wow, if I saw that and that was the profile of somebody else that I was considering hiring to speak, I would think that was quite impressive. So it was a good exercise and an ego boost in a way, but more in terms of thinking, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I belong on this stage. And it was interesting. I got some good responses to my posts. The different ones. I got great responses to the one about colorism, which was one of the topics I posted about, not just in the comments, but lots of DMs as well, and also about performative allyship. And that one actually led to someone approaching me as a possible speaker within the next couple of months.
Well, that is exciting. So off one post, someone read that and was like, yes, Sharon's for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought, wow, so, it really was about it in that way. And of course, I have the prompts and I know the questions. And so I can now use those for other topics or answer different, because what I did, I don't know how other people approached it, but we had different prompts, and and so every prompt I did a different speaking topic, even though I'd answered all the prompts for each of them.
Yeah.
Right. So that by the end of the week, I think I had promoted 2 of them were about me, or maybe one was a reflection. So I had promoted 4 of the 7 topics that I had created by the end of the week.
You're on fire, Sharon. Yes. By the way, I'm just going to read some of the comments, Sharon, because I think you need to hear what people are saying. So Keiko is saying, Sharon speaking about why you belong on the stage beats imposter syndrome, kryptonite. Absolutely. And say this point, because actually we do need to actually normalize, talking about ourselves and our accomplishments. And yes, it's icky and weird, and yes, Brits in the house here, but still, that is the way that we're going to actually get the results that we're seeking. We can't be shy coming forward. And Sharon and I both know people who speak about equity and diversity from different angles. You're on the racism, I'm on the speak of diversity and equity.
Yeah.
If we are shy coming forward, all that happens is the system stays the same. In fact, there are systemic problems within the speaking industry, which I'm just going to get into briefly because I don't have my time for in this show. But all I want to say is that, a lot of the problems, especially in the diverse speaking world, stem from, diverse speakers not owning their value and actually asking for the right fees, but also questioning, when people are saying there's no budget, actually what does that really mean? To me, it's actually a choice. And actually every event organizer has a list of things that they include or not include, and they have systemically chosen in these instances not to have speakers in the budget line, which means to me that they're a poor organizer. But that's by the way. We are going to stay on this topic. And someone else is saying congrats to you. That's Tanya. Thank you and welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
But the point here is that...
Oh, Taryn. Yes.
Taryn, amazing. Yes, we have to actually own our value. And we have to, as Sharon was saying, lean into it and feel that discomfort. Because sometimes what we're saying has to be said. And there's no way to sugarcoat it. And actually, now even more than ever, in this world of where we have AI and we have opportunities to use that for productivity, creating content, creating ideas, now more than ever, we actually need to find our voice and our authentic voice and to say it in the way that Sharon or I might say, because actually, I love AI, don't get me wrong. The challenge we have is that if we're using it without editing, because Sharon is a writer, she'll tell you this, it flattens the language and the tone. So essentially, how AI writes is not how you would write. So it's a weird, monotonization of language and phrases that aren't you. So please, folks, edit the stuff. Sharon, what are your thoughts?
I absolutely agree. I mean, they are great tools for crunching data and getting insights out of what you already have, and that includes out of content, right? So I would never say, but they don't substitute for the whole human touch in terms of writing. So at some point you have to say, well, what do I actually think? How would I actually say this? Right? And put your particular spice into things. But yeah, I agree. You have to get comfortable. I think, as Taryn says, we have to promote ourselves at every opportunity, right? We have to get comfortable. And I think this was the big epiphany, actually, because I've been out there. I'm doing things, I've been talking, but I wasn't intentional about that particular thing. And it is mind-blowing, but not surprising, that the minute I got intentional about it, I got actually not one, but 2 paid speaking opportunities, because I'm in a conversation.
Yes.
Towards the end of last week, I think maybe Friday, somebody emailed me about another paid speaking opportunity for later in the year. I'm having a conversation about it later today. And so, there's an energy thing going on as well. It's like what you put out there, you let people know that you're available to these opportunities, and they start coming. So yeah, I'm so glad I did the challenge. I am so glad that I did the challenge.
Oh my gosh, Sharon, you're going to make me cry before we end the show. Oh my gosh, not 1 but 2. Listen, y'all, this is what Sharon's done in 7 days. Woo! This is amazing. And okay, so let's talk about actually, what are you taking into this year? Because obviously, like, the challenge was obviously a time-limited container, but what are you going to be actually, now that you've seen the power of wall-to-wall paid speaking content, how are you going to incorporate that in your normal mix of business and other content?
Well, I made a note for myself that I'm going to do at least 1 paid speaker post every week. I might make it 2. I might make it 2 depending on what else is going on, because I have all this other stuff already ready that I can use, and several weeks worth of content if I dole it out at a couple of pieces a week.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to start with that. I'm going to look at, and I'm also going to tap more into that voice that I unlocked.
Yes, Sharon.
When I'm right.
Ooh, the spicy Sharon's coming
out. when I talk about other things, because I post regularly, and so I could talk about my newsletter content the same way that I talked about my paid speaking topics, right? And so it's like, okay, how do I then build on that to talk about everything in that kind of way? Right, to bring out that other voice that doesn't come out so often.
Exactly, because it's that mindset and the energy that we created in the challenge. You can apply it to the other parts of your content and the things, messages that you want to share in the world.
Yeah.
Because it's not limited to that, but obviously that was the context in which we built this thing. But actually, it's more widely applicable, and I'm so glad that you see that this can be like a really powerful engine for you to actually generate more newsletter subscribers, opportunities for your programs and other offers that you're having. So that's really great. I'm just going to read some more comments that we've got in the chat here. So talking about AI homogenizing speech, and then intention creates opportunity. So yeah, I definitely agree. We need to be mindful that actually what people now want to see, ironically, is mistakes, and no, we're really there. If we because AI is too perfect, and they want to hear your phrases and your spiciness and what you really think and feel, because the one thing AI doesn't have is our unique experiences, our lived experiences.
Absolutely.
Exactly. We can only tell it and train it. And the other thing is that it has no emotion or feeling. So you need to make sure that if you are going to use the content, which I sometimes do, you are telling it what kind of emotion, how you want people to feel, what words you actually use. And actually, as a result of our group that I convened, we've got Lillian, who is offering to show us how to create a custom GPT. So what that means basically it's how to train it in deeply around you and your way of speaking and your thinking and your ideas. And so, those who are interested in that are going to convene into a special group. But Sharon, before we close, I want to just remind everyone again what are your topics and how can they get in touch with you.
So yes, my topics are anti-racism, including colorism, allyship, pretty much any anti-racism topic, really, introversion. I'm actually also very comfortable talking about self-publishing, newsletter creation, and you can reach me on sharonhh.com, and I am on LinkedIn where my handle is sharonhh.
Okay, amazing. So just because, Sharon, we have a few people here, I will just ask, does anyone have any questions for Sharon or for me before we wrap it up? And whilst you think about your questions, if you have any, because thank you so much for your engagement, folks. It's been really appreciated. So Sharon, in terms of like stages that you're seeking for this year, any particular stages?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I have not even got as far as what are the stages that are available to me yet. my goal was to do the challenge and complete the challenge. And now that I have done it, I'm going to start looking. I'm going to start looking. I'm going to see what's available. I am available for speaking opportunities, especially in the UK. Because I have family there, so I'm always willing to travel to the UK. Right. But yeah, and obviously virtual speaking opportunities on my topics as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so we've got someone saying that my tech might be buffering. That's cool. I can sort that out. And someone's Taryn is saying, I've got a whole series on GEO for personal and professional brands. That sounds quite interesting. So Sharon, do you know Taryn?
Yes, Taryn Talley, marketer extraordinaire, did a fantastic series recently on Gemini and your professional presence. Okay. So yeah, she's the real deal. So okay,
yeah.
Talk to Taryn, folks.
Great. Yes, absolutely. I haven't really done much work with Gemini, so I will link up with Taryn to find out more about that, because I'm always learning. Because in this game, as a speaker, as an entrepreneur, you need to be always learning. And one of the things that we can't avoid is the fact that AI is here, and how do we use it with discernment? How can we use it to actually do the things that it's best at? Whether if you want to use it for ideation, content creation, or even actually messages, it's actually good because it was speakers and pitching. We need to send a lot of messages, and we can standardize some of those initial contacts before we get into any negotiations. It's useful and helpful to use it for those kinds of things. So Sharon, let me ask you one final question, and that is, with all that you've learned in our 7 days together, why are you now thinking about visibility differently, and what are you going to do that's going to make sure that you embed this for the rest of the year and not just like this January?
Well, I have already gone back to the content that I prepared. I have looked at it. I've thought, okay, some of this is definitely going to go into my content calendar. I have, and I'm actively looking. I actually started the year, in addition to doing the challenge, by recording podcast episodes with 3 different people. So I'm really being intentional about it. Right? I'm really being intentional about getting my voice out there in a different way more. And as you said, this is not something that I haven't done before. I'm doing it more intentionally and strategically this year.
Brilliant. Okay. And so just remind everyone, where's the best place to get in contact with you? And what are you seeking when they get in touch with you, especially?
I am interested in virtual speaking engagements, more or less anywhere, in-person speaking engagements in the UK, talking about anti-racism, talking about publishing, colorism, introversion. And you can reach me on my website, sharonhh.com, or on LinkedIn, where I am Sharon HH.
Well, brilliant. Well, thank you, Sharon. This has been a delight. Not 1 folks, but 2 speaking engagements after 7 days. I mean, we can't say and get any better than that, right?
It is fantastic. It is amazing. So I would definitely say to people that if they have been hesitating about doing your next paid speaker visibility challenge, they should not wait.
It's coming for March. But yes, visibility does pay. Like, we have literally demonstrated in 7 days what it can do for you, you know. And even people who were not as consistent as Sharon, let's just briefly mention that, because I think people might think, oh, but Sharon was already posting, and Sharon already had a history, and Sharon's, you know, famous, and Sharon's award-winning. Okay, yes, Sharon is amazing. We love Sharon. But I also want to briefly mention Nafisa. So Nafisa, again, is an expert in the field, been a speech and language therapist for 20 years, and hadn't been posting for about a year on LinkedIn. Joined the challenge. She posted for 7 days, and just like Sharon, she had people reaching out for offers of work in her area and potential speaking opportunities in her area. So the point here is, you know, even if you've taken a break and you come back, people are still watching and lurking. In fact, Sharon, what is your view on lurking?
Yeah, people do lurk, and you shouldn't forget about the lurkers, because sometimes the lurkers come to you months later with an opportunity. I have had people pop into my inbox and say, I've been following you for years, never spoken before. But then you spoke about this and I felt that I had to say something. Can I just add that, you know, one of the beauties of this challenge was the urge to follow up with people with a very simple couple of phrases. You follow up with people, and I've had such good conversations with people. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to lead to a speaking engagement, but it builds your network. It expands your connections, and it enables you to talk in a human way with people about the things that you mention in your post, and you've learned more about them. So it's great. It's absolutely great.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Sharon, so much for being a delight and for, you know, really playing full out, because, you know, the results literally do speak for themselves in this one case. But ordinarily, we've still got to like talk about our results, which we have been doing on this show. But thank you, everyone, who joined us live, and thanks for those who are going to watch a replay. And yes, we will see you again on these shores soon. All right, take care, everyone. Bye. Okay, I'll scream at